Hey guys, Max82 and welcome back to another tryout. Today's tryout is on Sifu. This game is made by the developers that made Absolver, and I didn't actually play Absolver. It's something that sort of floated in my radar, but I never got around to it. But I kept an eye on this one once it was announced, and I've followed it for a little while. When it came out, or around the time it was coming out, they announced a physical copy, and so rather than buying it when it came out, I waited a little bit, and I got the physical copy, I think a little after it released, and then it just sort of sat on the shelf for a bit because I was playing other games. It was like, I want to finish some of these other games before I start a new game, but then I didn't finish any of those other games, and so I'm like, I'll just slot Sifu into the tryout schedule so that I can eventually get to this game that I bought. Because that's part of what the point of this show is so that I play games I have. So Sifu is a game that basically just feels like you're playing like a kung fu movie. Like, it doesn't even matter like if you're winning or not, whether or not you're doing well. Even when you're getting the crap beat out of you, it still feels like you're playing a kung fu movie. The game just, animations-wise, looks very good, and the physicality is very engaging. Like, it's a cool game to watch happen. But it's especially cool when you're able to like pull off something like crazy, like clearing a room without taking hits or whatever. Like that stuff, like the only thing that I can describe it as is it just makes you feel really badass. And I can't like pick like a lesser word to describe that feeling. It just makes you feel badass. It's like the only word I can describe it. So the basic concept here is your father, who was the master of a kung fu dojo thing, he was murdered by some of his students, I believe. And you were a little child, and you saw this happen, and through a magic amulet thing, I can't remember exactly what that item is, you get killed, you come back to life. And you know, you just spend the next 8 years training to get strong enough to take down these people that killed your father. It's a story of revenge, you know, just a classic revenge tale. The basic loop is that, you know, you play, you fight, you do your best, and then every so often you'll probably die. And when you die, a death gets added to your death counter, and then when you revive, the death counter gets added to your age. And so eventually you might get too old, which is basically once you pass 70. So like 70 plus is too old, and so if you die at 70 plus, you get a game over, you start the level again or whatever. And so part of this is getting through the levels and like figuring stuff out and getting certain items so that when you go back through, like if you die or whatever, you can get to the boss faster. But also, you know, you might just have to go back and replay some of the earlier levels so that you can get through them at a younger age so that you have more space when continuing forward into the next levels. And so it's got like that sort of replayability to it, where the replayability is built into the basic gameplay loop. So along the way, there's skills that you unlock with XP, and if you unlock them and then put more experience into them, you can then permanently unlock them. And then you also have these little upgrades you can get from shrines, which I don't think you can permanently unlock. I think those just unlock as part of the run as you go on. And all of these different unlocks start getting gated off as you get older. So on the skills list, if you don't unlock the skills before you turn 29, then those skills at the bottom get locked off, and so then you have to pick from, you have an ever-shortening list of skills as you get older. And so you want to try to unlock them through your run from the bottom, or like whatever you find most useful or whatever. And the same thing is on the upgrades list thing that you get from the shrines, where certain upgrades aren't available after you reach a certain age. Or I believe like in some of the other ones you have to have like a certain score or certain XP to unlock. The thing that's most interesting about this game is that, like, it's a difficult game, but when I started playing, I sort of breezed through for a little bit in the first level before I hit, like, a bit of a difficulty spike with some of the more complicated enemies where you gotta sort of be a bit more intentional on how you fight them. And that's sort of where the interest in the game lies. It has, like, a very high skill ceiling. And it has somewhat of a higher skill floor, but it sort of eases you into it, at least through the first level, to where it doesn't, like, hit you like a brick off the start, like something like a Souls game would, where, you know, the first thing you run into in a Souls game is probably going to immediately kill you, or very quickly kill you. So, in this game, it eases you in a little bit more than, like, a lot of other, like, hyper-difficult action games tend to do, but also in sort of post-release content, like an update, they added both an easier and a harder mode, along with the basic, like, normal, the way the game was designed mode. And I have not touched those, I just played on the normal, basic, the way the game was designed mode, because that's sort of the experience that I was looking for. But, you know, as much as, like, I don't think difficulty settings are 100% necessary, because it really depends on how your game is designed, if you, as a game designer, want to figure out how to adapt your game into having functional and fun difficulty options that don't detract from the experience, go on ahead. I'm not gonna complain either way. So one thing I want to get to before I get to the end here is this was PS5 console exclusive. I believe it's also on PC, but it might be like an Epic Games Store thing. But as a PS5 console exclusive, a lot of the PS5 exclusives have some sort of it uses the special features of the DualSense. And this game, from what I played so far, it's just the advanced haptic feedback and the controller speaker. But I think that those two things can really add to an experience where, like, the best example that I can bring up right now is that in the beginning opening mission, basically the tutorial prologue section before you really get into the main game, you're going through areas where it's raining, and so not only you got the rain coming from the speakers, but you have the rain coming from the controller speaker, and also when you are in the rain, the haptic feedbacks are mimicking the rain in the controller vibrations. And it's just that sort of stuff on the PlayStation 5. I want, like, any game that's on the platform to really incorporate that sort of stuff, because it can really improve the immersiveness of your game. I mean, it's stuff that, like, you might not want to do because it's only on the one platforms. So I understand why it's not in every game that's on the PlayStation 5. But, like, I think that sort of stuff will affect what platform I decide to buy a game on. I have a PlayStation 5, I have an Xbox Series X, I have a Switch, I have a ballin' gaming PC thing. Like, I have a score of choices on where to buy your game. So, like, PlayStation should want to encourage people to incorporate DualSense support into games on their platform, even third-party games that aren't console exclusives, because that stuff is going to influence at least my purchase option and probably other people. So that's just the thing I want to say about DualSense, because the DualSense is a cool controller, and I think that the Joy-Cons are cool with having also that advanced haptic feedback, and just people don't use it. People don't incorporate it as much as I would like to, especially on the Switch. But that's a bit of a tangent that I wanted to go on. What do I think about the game? What's my opinion on it? I've not said a negative thing about it, so that should probably help you understand where I'm at. I think Game Pass's tryout. This is a cool little physical edition. I wish it was not all held together by the sleeve, but, you know, it's a cool physical copy. It's cool to get physical copies of games. I'm rambling again. Game Pass's tryout. I think I said that. We'll get on to the end of it here before I start rambling a third time. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you dislike the video, hit the dislike button. If you down in the description, you find links to all sorts of places: Twitter, Patreon, Bandcamp, Redbubble, etc. Down in the description, click the links, follow, whatever you do there. Leave a comment. Sifu. Did you play Sifu? Did you play Absolver? Let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you think about them. What platforms did you play them on? Share the video. Subscribe to get with us and other shows. Do the things. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!